Salam and hello everyone. Welcome to Pondering Thoughts with Nida Jawed. I'm your life coach Nida and we have a very special show for you today. We have a very special guest I cannot wait to introduce you to. So let me give you some briefing about her before we actually introduce her to you. So in today's episode, we have with us advisor of Pediatric Research Lab at Aga Khan University Hospital in Karachi, Pakistan, Ms. Shahida Qureshi. Yay! I am
Nice.
so pleased and happy to have you here.
Happy to be on your show.
Thank you so much. So she has been career-oriented woman for about 35 years and a mother of two beautiful, wonderful daughters and grandmother to 5 grandkids. That is a handful.
Beautiful kids.
Absolutely, I'm sure. And she loves reading, baking, and poetry.
Yeah, I do.
And which one is your favorite?
You're
Reading,
talking.
cooking? Ah,
Oh, to release my stress, I love to cook.
amazing.
To relax myself, I like to read poetry. And I love my job. To
That
keep
is
me
amazing.
running on my feet.
That is great because we all need a passion to keep moving, and she has 3 of them. So there you go. That's your inspiration to get started. If you haven't found your passion, get searching. All right. So here we have her, and we are honored to have her here because she has willingly accepted our invitation to share her journey after a challenge has impacting her life in such a way. Sometimes unseen, unforeseen, unfortunate events come and take over us, but how we cope through it, how we move past it is what makes us happy. And I am so happy, Auntie, that you're here to share that part of your journey with us.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I know the hardest challenge you have faced was losing your husband. Do you mind sharing your story with us?
It's a long time back, going back and thinking about it. Lost my husband in 1981. So they say heart attacks are fatal. If you survive it, it is a light heart attack. And if you don't survive it, it's a fatal heart attack. So in 1980, my husband had a heart attack which was fatal and he did not survive it. So we lost him.
I'm so sorry. And you were quite young at this time
Yeah.
with 2 young daughters.
So I have 2 daughters, blessed with 2 girls, Kadir and I, and my one daughter, Shazia, was 7.5 years old. Atia was 3.5 years old. So I was like 32, my husband and me, we both have an age difference of about 10 years between us. So he was in his early 40s.
Okay, still a very young passing. But, Allah has different ways of testing us. So, though this grief is so hard, what made it acceptable and bearable?
I'm very happy to share with you, and I think such a relationship between husband and wives must exist. In our culture, girls are married at a young age. So not much of the education or teaching how to lead your life is given from the home atmosphere in where they are raised. A lot depends on the husband now. To strengthen the wife, to give a vision to the wife, and make the wife stand up in a community. So I was blessed with a husband who really encouraged me. I did my master's in microbiology right out of the university, got married and landed here in States in 1970. So 11 years stayed married, but blessed with a husband who was like a husband, a companion, and a best of friend to me. So he was the one who actually gave me the strength to pass my license exams. He was the one who encouraged me, to go back into my service that I never had any exposure to. But it was his encouragement that I worked throughout the time that I was in States. And probably he was the only one who taught me how to drive for the first time. And it was such an exciting experience to have a friend in a relationship of a marriage where you have a friend as your own husband.
That's amazing. So you're saying that the fact that he actually prepared you for life after was giving you all the life skills.
Yeah. So, many of the girls after marriage, if they are deprived of this strength, they are sheltered out in homes. And if there's a husband who, instead of only feeling that he's got a wife to serve him or to make a home for him, no doubt the girl does that. But if you have a relationship more of a friend, it just booms out.
That is amazing to know. And a lesson for all of us ladies who are in this generation, how to strengthen our relationships for our lives with our husbands, inshallah, in the future. And the fact that we give each other the skills of life that will prepare us for after, God forbid, anything happens. I know this is very hard for anyone to talk about, especially like Khuda na khasta, Allah na kare, and this is a discussion we never really have. So this is a starting point. We all need to be prepared for the unfortunate, but I hope we all have a very happy, healthy life. And how you have made it through your challenges, that is inspiration in its own. So how did you come to terms with the way things were and start seeing all the positive while you were on your own?
Let me go back to an instance that motivated me a lot over this. Is when I carried my husband's dead body from States back to Pakistan. I was like about 112 pounds maybe, my hair coming down to my knees, so very young, and with 2 kids. The moment we landed in Pakistan for the burial ceremonies were over, everybody who met me, pitied me. And it was the word that they had to pity me was the one that probably annoyed me the most in my life. That God forbid they are not the ones who are going to take, responsibility of me or have to support me. Right. Why they should pity? So one thing that I learned in my life is never to pity myself. If you start pitying yourself, or if you start using the circumstances around you to gain pity for yourself, that just destroys a person. So this is one thing in life you have to learn, is not stop pitying yourself. Have faith in the Almighty Allah. He is the one who has put these challenges, or chosen you in fact for these challenges. So if you are faced with such challenges in life, have faith in Him, trust Him. Nobody around you, neither your parents, nor your brothers or sisters, nor your family members can feel the agony or the pain that lives within you. So it's no use pitying yourself. This is the one thing that I was faced with when I arrived in Pakistan. And at that moment I decided, that with the help of Almighty Allah, I have to spring back on my 2 feet.
And you did,
Alhamdulillah,
and you
Alhamdulillah.
came out as an inspiration for a lot of ladies, and this is exactly why you're here, because a lot of ladies that I get to speak with are suffering through this. They have no idea how to overcome the grief and start over. So I'm so glad you're here to share your stories and experiences, so many of the ladies who are going through the transitional phase after losing their husband can learn from it. So I hear you say that you never self-pity yourself, which means you never let your strength come down.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. God, it's God's blessing that I had that feeling inculcated in me from my father, who was an educationist himself. And through my days of 60s and 70s, when I went through my education, when, co-education was not popular so much, he put me in front. And he made me go through co-education schools and colleges. So I knew exactly, the values of life were.
That is great. So while you were going through the transitional phase of being on your own, I know one of the things you did, you have mentioned, is you never self-pitied yourself, which means you never let your strength come down. What else kept your spirits up? What else motivated you?
Having two girls with me, but I was also blessed with a very strong mother behind me.
That's
She was a pillar of strength for me. Lost my father soon after, did my master's, so I got married after, my father's death. But returning back home to my mother, who also, lost her husband, and we were 8 brothers and sisters. So he raised her children, us all, the same way, with a lot of strength. And I was blessed with a very, very strong mother who stood like a pillar behind me. So anytime, like these weak omens that we have existing in our culture, maybe picked up more from Hindu culture, not from Muslim culture, I must say, that not to wear colored clothes, not to wear colored jewelry, not to, come up well prepared in front of public because you're a widow. Right. So my mother, she stood up and said, no, I am here behind you and I'll answer every question anybody has to put. And she was the one who clothed me and dressed me in all colors. And I love jewelry. That's one of my weakness. And, I lived to the fullest.
That is amazing. And so you had a model to follow because your mom had gone through similar experiences.
Yes.
Maybe this is exactly why she was the perfect pillar for you to lean against.
Yes, exactly.
That is amazing. Also, with all the things that widows have to face in our culture and society, there's another thing too, that they are forced to pursue remarriage. Was that ever something that was offered to you? Did you ever consider at any point that you should have a life partner?
I moved into a home where I had brothers living with me, and I had a mother living with me.
Right.
And I guess my work itself kept me so occupied that I never thought. But yes, soon after I came to Pakistan, because this sense of bitterness that was hovering over me, I decided to go work in Saudi Arabia. Okay. So my brother was in Saudi Arabia, and he offered me, while I was moving from here carrying the dead body home, I stopped over in Jeddah, and I had about 6 or 7 interviews at that time before I returned back to Pakistan. So when I came and I took a TR, purchased almost all household items to settle in Karachi with my girls. But this hovering bitterness that followed me everywhere, I felt I needed a break from this culture. And I then went over to Saudi Arabia and I worked there for about 6 years. That gave me additional strength, and with Haram there, performed my umrahs, got involved in Hajj, did 3 Hajj, alhamdulillah, there, and got more attached to Allah and His beliefs. And that gave me more strength and courage. So when I came back to Pakistan in 1981 and joined Aga Khan University.
Okay.
So it is just not only, I spent like 33 years with Aga Khan University from 1981 up to this May 2019. But before that, I had worked for about 10 years in States, 6 years in Saudi Arabia. So had worked all the way through.
That is a lot of great resume to fall back on. I hope we all find that strength to keep ourselves motivated when it comes to career, when it comes to our passion, and not fall victim to what society tells us we need to do. We need to find our own strength in different challenges of our lives. And today we are focusing on ladies who are going through the transitional phase after losing their husband, and we have wonderful auntie giving her story as a guidance. So ladies, stick around. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. Perfect.